Sports Show. Check us out on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram.
He's going in on goal. He should
On CABC3, the future of broadcasting. With your host, Darnell Duff.
That ball hit hard. Stretch. Austin Jackson back looks up. You can. Ready to
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
It's the First Row Sports Show on CABC3, the future of broadcasting. I got a full booth here with me, Scotty Tonto, Damon, and Andrew Brown. How you guys doing today?
Too bad, are you?
Good. Yay.
All right, perfect. Well, we're going to do a little bit of a new segment here. It's the good and bad. Each guy has one bad team, one good team. They're going to tell me about it. We're going to start with Andrew Brown. I was in this, but I since withdrawed, and I'm just going to disagree if I feel like it and start anything that is needed. Andrew, let's start with the bad team and go from there.
Well, I'm going to go with the Montreal Canadiens for next year. Reason being, they had a great season, probably one of the best in, I think, almost 30 years, was it? Give or take? 89, okay, so.
Almost 30 years.
Yeah, almost 30 years. 50, 22, and 10 last year, 110 points. They picked up a few players. They got Zach Kassian in the 5th pick for Brandon Pruss, I believe it was.
Yes, it was.
So some subtractions were P.A. Parenteau, Brandon Pruss, and Mike Weaver. And I know it's not – and Sergei Gonchar, sorry. And I know they weren't the – many
Are
big
those
role
the
players.
reasons why this Montreal Canadiens team was 50, 22, and 10, though?
No, not at all. But those are all decent depth players, I think.
Brandon Prust is a piece that comes in and adds to a lineup.
Oh,
but at
absolute-
the same time, he's getting up there in age, and he's slow. Like, Zach Kassian coming in and taking his spot is an upgrade, I think.
So my big question is they're going to have Carey Price in net, obviously, next year. Now, if Carey Price did get injured, like we talked about before the show, this team is a dead end in the Eastern Conference. But let's just say he is healthy. Do you not think they're going to have the same season as they did this year next year?
It's tough to say. I mean, it was a career year for Carey Price. Montreal, hands down, had a great season last year, but I think they're still missing that big forward centerman piece that they need. I know Alex Galchenyuk, if they re-sign him, which they probably will, eventually throughout the summer, he could fit that top centerman role if their coach trusts him enough. But, I mean, if Carey Price goes down, what do you do? And I think they have a lot of risky players, too, right now that are in their lineup. I mean the trade with Smith Pelly for Yuri Seacatch, and then Zach Kassian, too, who they're – it sounds like they kind of want to fit him into a top 9 role, but, I mean, where is he going to fit? The guy's been unbelievably inconsistent for Vancouver. Didn't really fit the team in Buffalo. And I don't know. It's kind of like a last chance, I think, for Zach Kassian to prove himself in the NHL. And, I think they're relying on him a bit coming up next season since they didn't really get anyone else in their forward lineup. So I think Montreal, I think they'll make the playoffs next year without a question, but I don't think it'll be anywhere near where they were last year.
Well, at this point, I'm just having trouble with the fact that your leading scorers are guys like Maxim Pacioretty and Thomas Plekanec. Now, I know Pacioretty can light up the scoreboard. He can get 30 goals a year. But I think you need something better than Maxim Pacioretty or Thomas Plekanec to lead your team. Now, I know, Damon, you are a Montreal Canadiens fan. Tell me why maybe Maxim Pacioretty and Thomas Plekanec are ready to take on the leadership of taking this team to the next level.
Well, I think you're looking at it wrong in the way of like Thomas Plekanec is a guy that can put up points, but he's not there to put up points. He's a guy that's your shutdown center. Like he gets no respect in the NHL of being a tremendous two-way player. What was that? Like he is such a good shutdown guy. He's always playing the toughest minutes, never seeing very much in the offensive zone. And he's still he put up 60 points last year. That's crazy.
I'm not disagreeing. He's putting up points. He does put up points.
I mean, if you're going to rely on him, yeah, I can see what you're saying.
And they are relying on Maxim Pacioretty. And where is that going to lead them?
As far as Max Pacioretty goes, he's an elite goal scorer in the NHL.
He is an elite goal scorer, but I don't think he's the kind of guy that's going to take your team to the next level.
I disagree. He absolutely is.
That's what he has to on the ice.
How is he taking? What is he doing to get them to the next level?
What is it? The last 5 years, he's like like the fourth leading goal scorer
If
in the NHL.
they didn't have Carey Price on that team,
I
where are they right now?
I think-
And you look at elite goal scorers in this league and elite players, if they don't have the goalies, let's look at Sidney Crosby, for instance. He's got Marc-Andre Fleury in net. By no means
but
is Marc-Andre
Marc-Andre
Fleury is a number one echelon goalie in the NHL. Sidney Crosby leads that team.
Sure, but how many more cups would the Penguins have if they had a goalie like Carey Price in net?
Maybe a couple.
For sure, a couple.
But we're not
But, like-
we're not disagreeing on Price. We both agree he's one of the best goalies in the league.
I think the problem is the fact that their coaching is so. It's like Ken Hitchcock. You everywhere he goes, he's a 3-year and out guy. Like the way he plays, you play so hard, so defensive all the time that you have no gas when it comes playoff time. And I don't know if you guys watched any of the Habs playoff games this year. That was the case. Montreal played so well getting into the playoffs. They get in and they played a tough Ottawa team, beat them. Skilled. Montreal's just that much more skilled than Ottawa is.
I think Montreal has to exert too much energy in the regular season and
Well, and
push
that's the system
themselves
of play.
too much that they don't have it come the playoffs.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They don't have the system to be their system is wrong for what they want. Like Therrien wants them to be a grinding team, and they're not. You have Max Pacioretty, who's not a grinder. You have David Desharnais as your first line center, who is not a grinder. Brendan Gallagher, grinder, but the guy's all heart and he's got skill. Alex Galchenyuk, not a grinder. Thomas Plekanec, not a grinder. You can go down the list. They're not a grinding team, but Therrien wants them to play that way.
I think Damon's right, and when I think of the Montreal Canadiens, I think of 3 players that are going to carry that team. One of them being Max Pacioretty, PK Subban, and Carey Price. And it seems like the entire team revolves around those 3 players. And if one of them goes down, and it should, but you're looking at all the players over the years, or all the teams, who've won the Stanley Cup, and it's like their core group is always 5-6 guys.
Montreal isn't.
Right?
They're not getting farther than they are right now with this team under their coach they have,
I agree
under the
100%.
system. They're not going to get any farther than they are.
I think this is the same kind of thing as Pittsburgh was 4 years ago when they were playing under Michel Therrien, fired him, and the next year they won the Cup with the exact same team.
So what is Montreal waiting for then?
Wow.
If
How
Michel
do you fire a
Therrien,
guy that won 50 wins?
well, it was arguably Carey Price that
Sure.
won 50 wins.
Sure.
I mean,
But how do you fire that coach? It's like David Blatt in Cleveland for basketball. How do you fire him?
I think if you see the same, I think if Montreal finishes with the same goals for this year, there might be some changes.
yeah.
But I feel like they're just dismissing what they need to address in the offseason.
Exactly.
They need that
They
big
do-
forward.
And that's
They
you're
need
right.
they need a big impact player who's going to put the puck in the net too.
Yeah, I agree.
simple
They
as
need a
that.
player, and they need a first line center. And David Desharnais is not it.
I'm really surprised that they haven't been able to make a move because they have depth in center with Plekanec, Eller,
Galchenyuk.
and
David
yeah,
Desharnais.
David Desharnais. Sorry, but
Who else? Who's one of the guys that they brought in? Pluggers from Buffalo and
Torrey Mitchell,
Torrey
Brian
Mitchell.
Flynn.
Yeah, both are centers too. They're deep in center, sorta. They don't have a first line guy to bring up, but I mean, how hard is it to find a genuine first line center?
well, I guess we're going to find out. Let's get Scotty Tonto on the mic here. Who's your bad team that going into next season?
Well, my bad team is basically from bad to worse, the New Jersey Devils.
And tell me why. I mean, they just I don't know if any of you guys know. Lou Lamoriello stepped down as the Devils GM. Maybe he was fired. Who knows what happened there? He is reported to sign with the Toronto Maple Leafs. You're a Maple Leafs fan, but let's not talk about that. Let's talk about the Devils. Why is this team going from bad to worse in this upcoming season?
Well, for one thing, their leading scorer last year in Adam Henrique led the team with 43 points. 43 points led the New Jersey Devils last year, which is
Abysmal.
It's terrible, honestly. And you look at a guy, Adam Henrique, who is making $4 million a year at 43 points. Jordan Tutu, who is making $825,000 a year, who had 15 points. So really, he's a third of what Henrique is. So things like that. And also, back end, they have Corey Schneider. That's the only thing keeping their team not in last place right now in the league. Last year, I think they were 13th in the East Conference. So they've got Corey Schneider. They've got up front. They have Camilleri, Gomez. Players. Yeah, lots of older players. And their top contract, who was it? Yeah, Elias is there. He's 38 years old. He's coming down.
Well, I think the thing that New Jersey needs some young players, because right now all they have is a group of old players. Back in their day, they were very skilled, some of the better players in the NHL. But at the end of the day, this day and age, you need players who can skate, can play the body, and be physical. They don't have those guys. You're not going to see Patrick Elias in the corner. Camilleri, you're not going to see him in the corner very often. They need some young talent, and they need it quick. I mean, this Devils team, I agree with you 100%. They are getting worse for next season and not better, where a lot of teams are. And they're already sitting 13th place in the Eastern Conference. Definitely 15th place in the Eastern Conference for next year. It's not out of the question.
Well, for sure. The only thing they have for youngsters is their defensemen, but all of their defensemen are young. They have no veterans other than Elias, who's getting up there. Gomez, who I guess he's older but doesn't bring much to the team.
So yeah, it seems like everywhere Gomez goes lately, he's not bringing much to a team. And it's just basically a player under contract.
Oh, for sure. He scored 30 points this year. That's nuts.
Well, he needs to score 30 points. I mean, if he doesn't score 30 points and Henrique doesn't score 43 points, it's just you can't have a leading scorer on your team that scores 43 points. Now, I know in this day and age, point scoring at 80 points is the leading scorer in the league. So, I mean, 43 is half that. You got to have your leading scorer on any team. Like Maxim Pacioretty, I think he had 62 points this year, if I'm wrong. It's within that 62 area. You need your leading scorer to be from 60 to 80 if you do want to be a really good team in either conference.
Take into consideration, too, the NHL is on a downswing for goal scoring, right? Like, so your leading scorer this year was, 87 points in Jamie Benn? That's terrible. For your leading, for the NHL
it is,
leading
but it also shows that that's how good these goaltenders have become.
Is it, or is it a product of the way the game is played?
Well, it's absolutely goaltenders.
Yeah, you go.
Go ahead, Scotty.
Well, you have Ovechkin, who still got potted 52 goals this year.
Absolutely. It is a different brand of game, but you can't deny these goalies in this league now are unbelievable. I mean, the nets are small. Sure. They have big pads. Some of the goalies are covering the most of the net. I mean, yes, it's different, but the goalies are still top-notch.
I have to completely agree. The goalies, I think, are way more athletic than they have been. I mean, it seems like they've just gotten better every year since maybe the 90s. Like, the numbers that they put up are just record-breaking, really, for goals against average and save percentage. But I feel like the New Jersey Devils, it's just been a little bit of bad luck, too. Like, all their young players really haven't turned out to be what they've expected them to be so far. With Adam Henrique, who had a great first-year rookie season, really good year.
Yeah, I still think Adam Henrique has something left in the tank. But
no, yeah.
He's not playing with a whole lot. He's playing in a
doesn't
bad
have much,
system
right?
in New Jersey.
It's more like New Jersey. They have a lot of older guys who are very slow, like you said, Patrick Elias, Zubrus, who even knows? Can he still skate? I don't know. I don't know.
He skates, but not well.
And then you have Adam Larson too on the back end, who was drafted top 5, I believe it was.
Top five.
I think he went fourth overall a few years ago. And once again, he had a decent rookie season, and ever since then, it's just like the guy looks like he's maybe a depth blue liner up to this point. But once again, still very, very young. I think they got a really good centerman this year from the Sarnia Sting in the draft with Pavel Zacha. Sorry, he's 6'6", 6'7", huge centerman, which is always crucial when it comes to when you start really. They're almost in like a rebuilding phase, but not entirely. But they're not getting rid of anyone. It just seems like they're all right. Let's keep our old players around to show them the way. But their old players, they don't know the way. New Jersey hasn't been a winning team in. Well, I can't even remember, really, like, since Marty Brodeur was in his prime, probably.
Well, at the end of the day, I think we can all agree that the New Jersey Devils are not getting any better. If any, they're getting worse. Let's switch it up. Damon, you haven't given us your bad team. Let's go on to that before we get to the good teams.
Okay, so my bad team is the Boston Bruins. I think the era of Don Sweeney has gotten off to a sweeping start with getting rid of Dougie Hamilton to Calgary, Milan Lucic to L.A. Riley Smith, I'm not quite sure where he went. Did he go to L.A. as well? Part of that Lucic deal?
Florida.
Yeah, that's right. And so, like, those are three big pieces for the Boston Bruins. Lucic is a guy, I mean, he struggled last year, but he's a guy that should be putting up 25 points or 25 goals. Hamilton's your number one defenseman. I mean, people in Boston can say it's Chara, but he's 38, he's 6'8", his legs are probably falling apart.
Realistically, it's not that bad to have a guy like Hamilton being your number one defenseman, but I mean, they traded him away.
Sorry, what did you say?
Hamilton.
As your number one defenseman?
Yeah, it's not.
He should be.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's a stud.
Absolutely, but now
But
he's gone.
Yeah, but you can't trade. Like, they should have traded Chara, if anything. But
Well,
they
but
don't.
you can't. They're not going to get absolutely anything for Chara.
Yeah, but you don't get rid of your best defenseman. That's like Montreal trading PK Subban and keeping Andre
But it's
Markov.
also like trading your best defenseman away, who's been maybe not your best defenseman, but he's been your best defenseman for so long. It's hard to trade a guy like that. I mean,
it's not. It's business.
No, he has his home there. It's like trading your best player.
I don't care. I'm trying to win hockey games.
Yeah,
I'm
but
not
that's
trying to make.
but that's
Zdeno
why
Chara
we're not
happy.
GMs.
Sure, and maybe
He has
that's
his
why,
home
and
there.
that-
He's been there for so long. He's been a franchise
and that's
player.
why Boston's not
He
going to make
wants
the
to
playoffs
retire
next year again for the second.
I absolutely agree. They've gotten a lot worse. They've traded their best players, especially Dougie Hamilton. All they really have right now is Tuukka Rask being on the bright side, and
Patrice Bergeron's
he
still
didn't even
there.
have
I mean,
a great
there's
year
still
last
good
year.
players there. The thing with Boston is that, like, for whatever reason, I mean, they've added Bolesky, Jimmy Hayes, Matt Irwin. I've never even heard of Matt Irwin. I don't know. Like, he's a defenseman.
Decent defenseman.
Decent.
He used to play on.
Does he? Yeah, but
he was on
he's
San
no
Jose.
Dougie Hamilton. I mean,
Oh no.
No,
That's
no,
what
he's
you're
not on Dougie
that's
Hamilton's
what you're
level,
replacing
but-
Dougie Hamilton.
But
with,
he
right?
is a
Sure.
good defenseman.
But Bolesky, who I think is completely overrated. I mean, the guy scored 22 goals last year, got $3.8 million a year for it for the next 5 years from Boston. I don't understand that. He originally, during his contract talks for free agency, he wanted $4.5 million. Why? You've scored 20 goals once in your career. You've been in the league for 7 years. You've scored more than 10 goals twice in your career. How is this guy getting $3.8 million?
I just think that with the Bruins getting rid of Lucic going to LA in that trade.
Trade.
It was, but they had to make a change. But I think Bolesky will kind of fit that role. Not necessarily the big powerful Lucic, but he'll fit in with the same way he did with Anaheim. That's a good player that you can pair him up with two skilled players, and he's a great player to have on the wing. And I think Bolesky hits 20 goals this season again. I really do.
He better hope so. I mean, like, he's only had 20 goals once in his career, and it was last year.
And
That's what he's getting paid for, right? We always say the last year of your contract
absolutely.
is the most important contract
for sure
year.
it is. You're right, and I just think Boston's going to take a step back this year, and we'll see how their drafting goes forward. Right, like, this is a team that didn't make the playoffs last year because Ottawa ripped right through the last 20 games of the season, and we'll see where it goes from here. I don't think they make the playoffs. I think they struggle, and I think they'll have a higher draft pick next year for it.
Well, I think Scotty Tonto is the winner in this one in getting the worst team in the New Jersey Devils, rather, if he wants to be a winner. Anyways, let's switch things up. Let's get Scotty on the mic, and let's talk about your team that's going to be good next year and maybe made the most improvements.
Well, I wouldn't say they made the most improvements, but I think that next year for sure, maybe only next year, they're going to be a playoff team, which is not really the norm for them, and that's the Florida Panthers. They have young talent up front. They've got lots of guys. They've also got veterans in the lineup. Guys like one of the greatest all-time, top 5 for sure, Jaromir Jagr. They got good goalie net behind them, Roberto Luongo, who is also getting up there in age.
But let me
36
question
years old.
you, and this is sort of to everybody in this room right now. Are we going to see a sophomore slump from Aaron Ekblad? We can all agree that if he does play, he's going to be one of the better sophomore defensemen, if not defensemen, in the entire league. But can we possibly see that slump in him?
I think players nowadays are a lot more prepared for second seasons. I think you look back, the sophomore slump was a thing in the past. But, I mean, you look at guys, like, especially with defensemen, look at Jacob Trouba. I don't think he took a step back in his second year. Yeah, Morgan Riley, too. He had a great second year. I think Aaron Ekblad is in a position where he will perform to the best of his abilities and give Florida a very good, solid player going forward for them.
I cannot even imagine Aaron Ekblad having a slump next year.
Yeah.
If you just watch some of just the way the guy plays, it's like he positions himself so well and he gets up the ice so quick. He's really able to. He went first overall for a reason.
Yeah, a very smart player, too.
I think he put up 40 points this year, 39, which is unbelievable for a rookie defenseman. He's got size, speed, skill. I think he's a great D-man to build a team around. They have Kulikov on the back end, Brian Campbell. They've got some pretty decent. I don't know if Jovanovski is still alive. Is he still alive?
Definitely not on their team anymore.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he's had injury problems for a few years, but some of the forwards they have too, and I think Florida's actually. I have to agree with Scotty. I think they're going to make the playoffs next year. They didn't miss it by much this year. They've been doing it the right way. They've been building a team. They have all their draft picks. They haven't really traded much away. They got Barkov, Bukestad up the middle. Huberdeau had a pretty weak season last year.
But he is capable of stepping that up for sure.
I think so. I think with centers, it's a little more different because you have to play such a heavy two-way game in the NHL these days. I think Huberdeau recovers and has a good next year.
Like Damon said, I it's hard to believe Huberdeau didn't have a good year last year. And you know what? I mean, there's
He's
a
a really
sophomore
talented
slump
guy.
right there. There's a sophomore slump, but I don't even really like that term at all.
I think it used to apply. I think nowadays it's a little different because players are like it's a 12-month year thing in the NHL now, or even any sport alive going. Like there is no more off season really because you take 2 weeks off after the season's done and then you're training right away. So like players are so prepared going into a new season.
Well, I guess we'll find out. But right now, Scotty Tonto's in an absolute roll. First place of the best teams too. But I mean, we still have two more. Damon, give me your best team for next year.
My best team for next year is well, not best team, but I think most improved is Columbus Blue Jackets. They lost a couple players in that trade for Brendan Saad, but you know what? Brendan Saad comes in and gives them so much. You've got for your forward group, you've got Saad, Johansson, and Foligno. That is going to be.
Foligno is a goal scorer.
That's gonna be phenomenal.
He's becoming one of the better premier goal scorers in the NHL.
And I get
Nicholas
granted,
Foligno.
it was 1 year, but he's got to repeat that. But like he had a great year.
If
last year.
if he plays like he did last year, I mean
that was on a team that was decimated with injuries. I mean, like I honestly thought this is a team that makes the playoffs last year. But the amount of injuries, I mean,
especially what they did the year before with that big streak there.
Well, and I mean, like you look at the injuries that this team went through last year. 14 players missed time with injuries. Multiple number of those players missed significant time. I mean, Bobrovsky was injured. Foligno missed a little bit of time. Cam Atkinson was hurt. Dubinsky missed time. Like it's crazy the amount of games they lost to injury. And going in, you can't see that happening for a second season. On defense, Jack Johnson, Ryan Murray, that's solid. Fedor Tutin is a decent player. Dalton Prout, Justin Falk, Kevin Connaughton. That's not a bad-looking group.
And
on
also,
defense. They're young too.
Don't forget with the 8th pick of this last draft, they had Ivan Provorov from the Brandon Wheat Kings.
Absolutely.
He's going to be a nice puzzle to the Columbus Blue Jackets.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Oh, he was he was projected to go to the Blue Jackets, and I think that was like a last-minute thing. But I mean, I do agree. Columbus is going to be one of the better, or not one of the better teams, but definitely an improved team from last year.
I'm going to say that they're going to be 6th in the Eastern Conference next year. I think they're better than Ottawa. I think they're better than Boston. I think they're better.
It's just, do they have a goaltender though?
Bobrovsky is absolutely a good goalie.
Best Russian goaltender I'd say in the NHL.
Yeah,
Okay, fair.
won the Vezina 2 years ago.
Well, then I guess 6th is a pretty. I don't know if it's safe. I mean, I think there's still a 7th or 8th place team.
I do not think that they will be a wild card team.
I guess we'll find out. Andrew Brown, let's go with your best or most improved team, and we'll finish it with that.
Okay, this is a tough one because this is a team that had a lot of success last year underneath new coach Barry Trotz, who fit into the Washington Capitals lineup better than maybe any player that they've picked up lately. But this year, the Capitals picked up TJ Oshie, which is, I really like TJ Oshie. He's just a streaky player, and it seemed like a lot of St. Louis Blues fans were happy that he was gone. And for an American hero who was unbelievable in shootouts, I just don't think he really got enough credit.
I think he's a product of the system in St. Louis, like the same kind of thing that happens in Montreal, like their defense, and TJ Oshie is a guy that scores points. Like you don't need him to be responsible.
Their top 6 forwards are looking pretty sharp in the upcoming season. They got Ovechkin, obviously, and Backstrom on the top line. Oshie or Williams is probably going to slide right in there. Then on your second line, you have Johansson, Burakovsky on that left side, one of the two. And Burakovsky, who had a great playoff run for the Capitals, he came up in huge in a couple of games.
Talk to me, how good of a first line would that be? Alex Ovechkin, Nicholas Backstrom, and if you put TJ Oshie in there, that's going to be one of the best first lines in the entire NHL,
Nick Backstrom
hands
may
down.
have 300 assists next year.
Backstrom and Oshie alone will carry that.
That's going to be unbelievable.
And then you got guys like Kuznetsov, who's he's picking up. He signed a new bridge deal in the offseason, and then of course Mr. Game 7, Justin Williams on the right side. And I know they lost Mike Green and Troy Brouwer, but Oshie and Williams will easily cover up for Brouwer.
Realistically, Mike Green wasn't doing a whole lot for this Washington Capitals squad in the last couple of years.
You know what? Yeah, he
did have a really good season, I believe, in his first or second one. But ever since then, he's really tapered down.
The guy potted 30 goals, but I mean, how often are you going to see that again right from a D-man? I mean, I don't think anyone after that season said, "Oh yeah, here comes Bobby Orr, the new generation Bobby Orr kind of thing." But
and I think the trade for Oshie and Brouwer, like that just works. That's the type of trade that both teams walk away feeling good from, because Brouwer is going to go into St. Louis and he's going to fit into that system well. And
I mean, Braden Holtby went this morning to arbitration with the Washington Capitals. He's asking for $8 million, which they're probably going to offer more. I mean, I can see him making more now. In arbitration,
he'll get like 5 to 6.
I think he makes about 6. Yeah. I agree.
You got to sign the guy. I mean,
oh, no doubt.
He won't get $8 million.
Well, arbitration is right. Like the team comes, we will give him 2. He's saying we'll get 8, and they're going to find a way in the middle.
Yeah, no,
but it's only for 1 year. Watch out next offseason.
Yeah, they find common ground right away.
If he has a good year, his stock's going up.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. And the thing I think about the Washington Capitals, like their offense is they're dynamite. They're one of the best in the league, I think, coming into next season, and they got a really good mix of a D core too. They got John Carlson and Matt Niskanen on the back end, who are terrific offensive D-men. You got Orpik and Alzner as your shutdown guy, and then you've got a pretty good prospect too on the back end for a depth player with Orlov, who I really like too. Yeah, I think he's going to be a really good player. I just don't see too many weaknesses in the Washington Capitals roster. They still have some good grinders too on that bottom six with Jason Chimera, who's been there for a while too, but definitely a fan favorite in Washington.
Well, overall standings of this good and bad: Damon Perrant, Andrew Brown,
yes,
and it looks like it's going to be Scotty Tonto. I don't know what I'm going to do for you, but this is the best I got. Scotty Tonto, you are the winner of this good and bad for the 2015. This was the First Row Sports Show on CABC3, the future of broadcasting. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you later.